All right, what's going on, insane gamers, all the lookers out there? As always, your boy Yo Soy, ACWeezy, and the one and only, the man, goddamn T Hayes. T, how we feeling today?
Feeling great. About to head on vacation for the weekend.
Are you going
Go
to
up to
PA?
Going to Pennsylvania, see the fam. So pretty excited. Nice little, let's see, 1, 2, 3, probably like a 4-day weekend. So make it nice.
Oh yeah.
Feeling good, feeling right.
You s-
Got some Jack in the cup.
oh boy, you said make it right, and all I could think of was that Tiger song, make it nasty, make it nasty.
The amount
Um,
of times I probably listened to that song in high school was disgusting for a 16 to 17-year-old boy.
I mean it's a bop, you know, you can't deny that.
It's definitely his top five, in my opinion, of his songs.
Blaring it through the prelude and the Eclipse speakers.
Yes, yeah. What was that one song that he had with? I think it was Lil Wayne. Fuck. No, it was with the game. I'm sorry.
Mm, it was on that Last Kings album. She had a
Um,
few good songs on there.
might have been. Hold on, I'll find it.
So, as we titled this episode, Tyler and I decided to go a little Seinfeld on that ass and label it the episode about nothing. Well, this episode is not about nothing, but we didn't know what we wanted to label it. So, we decided to switch it up a little bit. And, Tyler, as I'm thinking and talking simultaneously, because I can multitask like that, we definitely need to go back and find out what number episode we were at.
Oh
I
yeah,
I don't think we're there yet, but I
we're
mean,
pretty damn close.
when did we start? It was like
2019,
October 2019.
something like that.
So
I know football season had started, so
so I'm thinking around September, October we'll probably be at the 100th episode. So we're gonna have to go back into the archives because we definitely have to do something for that. I mean, that's a pretty big milestone, Tyler, if I don't
I
say
mean,
so
even if it's
myself.
like the 75th, we still gotta do something for it. That song that I was thinking of, Switch Lanes, Tyga in the Game.
Okay.
That song goes dumb hard. That's probably my favorite by Tyga.
I can't.
Also, Austin, I kind of did I know I'm kind of like ADHD right now, but I did the little camera in the face of I switched the
Oh,
lens
the
of
ring light.
the ring light. So,
You think it looks a little better? Or you asking my
and
input?
I'm in heaven right now. Look at, oh,
Oh.
hell. There we go.
Just getting a feel for it. No, I think it looks a little better, especially with the hat. You know, it's kind of coming up from the bottom, so it helps out. Western League champs, never forget.
People don't forget. I
People
mean,
don't forget. Speaking of
well,
champs,
yes.
NBA Las Vegas Summer League, the Sacramento Kings came away with the championship. Let me pull up some stats here. I
They
I don't
were
know
the
how much.
Kings indeed.
Indeed, right? No pun intended. I don't know how much you watched, Tyler. I watched a few games. I definitely tried to watch some Hornets games for book night. Jello was playing. Who Jello? I'm gonna forget. I'm gonna act like he didn't make that face. Especially for book
Book
night.
Night's done us dirty, dog.
What do you
I had a
mean?
whole episode where I was going off. Book Night this, Book Night that, UConn to the Final Four, UConn to the championship, Book Night all the way, and this guy just did me dirty, dog.
I
I don't even
mean,
know what he looks like, to be honest. If you put five people in front of me and said, "Hey, one of those guys is Book Night," I wouldn't even be able to tell you who he is.
well, that's kind of messed up because if you're as big of a fan as you say you are, then
I'm not a fan of Book Night at all. I rode the gravy train to the Final Four with UConn because of you. My arm was twisted, peer pressure. I wanted them to lose in the Sweet 16.
listen, I was getting a little bias hope, I guess, turned out to be bravado because UConn did not do shit. Well, they lost in the first round, right?
Either that or they're
And
second. I
yeah,
mean,
and our brackets were instantly fucked. So the Kings won the summer league, but the MVP, Tyler, Cam Thomas, right? If I'm looking at this correctly, I don't have the exact stats for what
I think
team.
I think he averaged 27.
So I have the stats. I was just making sure it
Yeah.
was him. Cam Thomas, Brooklyn Nets, 4 games played, 28 minutes a game, 27 points a game, 42% field goal percentage, 36% 3-point percentage. Pretty good. So now on a healthy Brooklyn Nets team, which obviously has no shortage of players who can score, what do you see Cam Thomas's role being?
I mean, obviously, someone that can produce points like this is obviously going to find themselves with playing time. I mean, for Cam Thomas, though, it's like you're playing for also the best team in the NBA, like you said, if they're healthy. I don't know how well his game will translate with all of these guys. I think he's going to be like that fire starter that comes off the bench to score, kind of like a Jamal Crawford. I was watching a lot of his highlights. He's a very unorthodox player. He's not like he seems like he doesn't have the game in control, but he does at the same time. So he was facilitating, making a lot of plays. He had a game winner. I think it was against the Bulls or something, one of the games. But he absolutely showed out. It's nice to see. I mean, as a team that's one of your favorites, drafting a guy instead of signing him, kind of giving you that homegrown feel of him developing through your system. It looks really good, and I think he's going to be a star. I mean, he idolizes Kobe, so does everybody, but he
Not a bad
models
idol to have.
not a bad idol, models his game after him, as he said, and I think he's going to be a nice key piece to our bench.
So, I mean, do you see him moving up potentially into that 6-man role? I mean, who is that right now? Is that Joe Harris or does Joe start?
Well, Joe starts. I
Hmm.
think Patty Mills is technically going to be our sixth man this year.
I
It
mean,
was technically Spencer Dinwiddie. He obviously left. Um, I don't know. It's kind of up in the air right now, but I think he's going to be second, third guy off the bench for sure, especially if he translates the summer league to, training camp in the NBA regular season. I'm not too privy on how summer league translates, though, to the NBA season, if you ask me, though.
yeah, I mean, some other notable names. We got Trey Jones. He's up there, number 4, at least for the scoring aspect, 22 a game. Obi Toppin for the Knicks, averaging 21 points throughout the summer league. Obviously it's only his second season he's going into. Another Knicks guy quickly. So Knicks, not to talk about the Knicks too much, Tyler, but Knicks have some notable young talent. Cade Cunningham, showed why he was the first overall pick.
I mean, back on quickly, real quick.
Yeah, real
No pun
quick. Yeah.
intended. Um, I've been saying that I think quickly should start for the Knicks last year, especially in the playoffs. You can roll the tape back. I said it myself. When I saw him in the summer league for the Knicks, I was actually kind of surprised that they put him in there. Same with Obi Toppin, because those guys were kind of getting some minutes in the regular season. It's not bad. I mean, what's the worst thing that could happen? They get injured, out a few games or a few days. But I know that this Quickly guy, Emmanuel Quickly, he's going to be a starter for the Knicks very, very soon, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think starter, I don't know, especially with yeah, Kemba Fournier is technically a two
Well,
guard,
yeah, now
right?
Kemba's here. I totally forgot about that.
I could definitely see him playing some minutes. Well, they just signed Rose to a big contract. They got Barrett. I mean, they have no shortage of guards here on this Knicks lineup. Toppin, on the other hand, he kind of plays that stretch wing position, 3 or 4 slot, depending on what kind of lineup you have. I'm just going down the list looking at notable names. Book Night averaged 16.8. Not crazy. I think he showed a lot of prowess. Where is his assists? I know he had a good amount of assists. Let me scroll down here. Book Night, 3.8 a game. I mean, that's going to be an exciting team to watch, Tyler. Whether Book Night ends up starting or not, obviously you got LaMelo Ball, who had a outstanding rookie year. Book Knight's going to be in there providing instant scoring opportunities, and LiAngelo Ball honestly played better than I expected, Tyler. A lot of people were probably saying, oh, LaMelo's on the team. LeVar probably had a hand in getting him on that summer league squad. But the first game I watched, he went in, he had like 12 points, played a decent amount of minutes. Do you think he ends up making this team, or does he more so go along the lines of signing a two-way contract and potentially earning his way onto the active roster?
No, I can see it two-way, but I mean, I think just the showing, him not playing professionally or in a G League team and coming out in the NBA Summer League and, I think he had like four straight threes or 4 for 4 for threes in one game. I mean, he's showing that he still has, showing that he has the grit, the will, the want to play in the NBA. And I think he has, a great game based around like a role player. I think he could be a great role player for the Hornets. I think that would be a great team. Have LaMelo, someone who he automatically has instant chemistry with, um, kind of like a young, hungry team in the Hornets to kind of gather around. I think this would be a great position for him to play for. Um, I think he's earned it, in my opinion. But then again, I'm not the GM or the coach or anything to the Hornets. But if it were up to me, I think that it would put asses in seats, and I think it would be a great idea.
Yeah. And then, of course, you got Lonzo going to the Bulls, where Michael Jordan played, LaMelo, LiAngelo, potentially both on the Hornets, where Michael Jordan owns the team. If it's not LA, LeVar, he's waving his magic wand and he's getting some good looks there for the boys. Another name, Tyler, that you and I, if I'm not mistaken, were both kind of not high on, or more so not sure how his game would translate to the pro level. Jalen Suggs, I'm looking at the numbers here. Nothing crazy, 15.3 a game. He shot 41.5% from the field. But the highlights in the game that I saw, he just looked fluent out there. I mean, you could tell how athletic he is, right? He played high school football quarterback. He got a bunch of D1 offers. He chose basketball over football. I just still don't know how well he's going to play in that situation. Tyler, you probably more so than either of us have been pretty critical on the Orlando Magic, almost coining them the one A, 1B team in the NBA. Not sure if they actually qualify. It's like that old argument back in the day, would the Browns beat the Alabama Crimson Tide, So now we're
Yeah.
looking at the Magic almost like, would Kentucky or Duke beat the Magic? I don't know. But
No, I
I think
when
he
I was
looked
watching
pretty
when I
good.
was watching the NBA draft, I mean, when I saw Jalen Suggs go to Orlando Magic, I forget who had the pick right ahead of him. I thought that they were gonna take Suggs, and then when he went to the Magic, I was like, man, that guy must be pissed off having to go to Orlando because nothing. I think it was the Thunder that had the pick before him, but nothing good happens when you play for Orlando. Unless you're Tracy McGrady, a superstar, perennial All Star that's gonna score 40 points a game to keep your team in contention, or Shaq and Penny. Nothing has ever been decent with the Magic, and nothing ever will be, is because they never want to change their ways. They don't want to pay players. They don't want to get big all stars. They just want to draft, top 10 picks and then harvest them and trade them off. I mean, that's just how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, as long as, we're still on the topic and I was just comparing them to the Browns, obviously the Browns turned the ship around.
Right.
As for the Magic, you got to start somewhere, and it's looking like Jalen Suggs may be that piece that they're going to start bringing guys in
I
to
think Jalen Suggs is
be
great. I think
around.
when they say that he's comparable to Russell Westbrook, I can see that slightly. I think he does have, similar attributes to him, but unless they start trying to go out and get guys, like the Browns actually tried to get guys, fill pieces besides the draft. I just think they're just going to be bottom feeders in the NBA. And at some point, Adam Silver needs to step in, I think. And I
Mm.
know I'm getting kind of political, but I think he needs to step in and, say, hey, are you guys going to try or not? If not, we'll push your team to Seattle, have new ownership take over, and, get a real team in here that wants to win championships.
So do you think a little bit of that has to do with the market in Orlando? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
I think no. I think everything has to do with the ownership of the Orlando Magic. They don't want to pay coaches. They don't want to pay players. I mean, a classic example. They had Aaron Gordon. They didn't want to pay him. They ended up trading him. That was a guy that had been there forever. Tobias Harris, another one, great player. Signed a huge contract with the Sixers. Didn't want to pay him in Orlando. Said he would stay there, and then they just ship him off to the Sixers. So it's just a common thing. They get all these good players. Evan Fournier, look at him, gone. And then next thing you know, they're shipped off to a new place.
Yeah, it doesn't even seem like they're doing the Thunder route,
Right.
which they shipped off a lot of guys, but they got a lot in return as far as draft picks and other monetary compensation. It'll be interesting to see how that unfolds.
Like, you have to think, Austin, are they trying to get the number one pick, like, through the NBA lottery, or what are they trying to do? Because it doesn't seem like what they're doing is working for the past
Guest
10
appearance from Ashley in the background.
it doesn't seem like the 10 to 15 years of them, signing these players, drafting them, and then not re-signing them and trading them is just not working. Like,
Yeah. I don't know. Obviously, the formula is not working. Tyler, if they need some good formulas, they know where to go. Your boy Yo Soy ACWeezy, the king of formulas.
I mean, I was trying to say Wheezy F Baby, and the F stands for formula, but they don't call you Wheezy F Baby.
I like that, though.
Yeah.
Another guy I just want to talk and touch on real quick, now that we're on the topic of Jalen Suggs and his game translating to the next level, Luka Garza. You know,
Oh,
he played some good minutes. He had some decent stats. 15 points a game exactly. 9.6 rebounds a game, Tyler.
monster.
I mean,
Who's he play for?
I believe he's on the Pistons.
Ooh. Ooh.
Let me
That's
just confirm
nice.
that real quick. Yep, the
If there was a
Pistons.
if there was a guy that belongs on the Pistons, it's Luka Garza. Like, that guy's just grit. He's just a big blob of. He looks like one of those thumbs from fucking Spy Kids. Like,
Yeah.
he's just a big dude, got big broad shoulders. He's gonna body you up. He's gonna beat you up down in the post. He's gonna score dirt. Pay dirt in the block on the post. I
But
just love watching that guy playing in college. I know he's going to translate somewhat well in the NBA. Probably not going to be an all-star, but
I kind of view him as like a Martian. Am I pronouncing this right? Martian Gortat.
Marcin Gortat,
Marcin
yes.
Gortat.
Also
Um,
has a thumb head.
he is probably the prototypical thumb guy from Spy Kids, if we're talking about it. So
We
pretty
should create
good.
a list of thumb guys in professional sports.
The first team all thumb guy team.
Goldberg would be one of them. Has to be.
Who?
Goldberg, wrestler?
Oh, I thought we were just talking about basketball.
We could, but Shaq, black thumb guy. You got to diversify your portfolio.
Exactly. We love diversity over here on the No Look podcast. So Tyler, you believe that he will translate well. I'm just not sure. I think just the way that the league has transitioned to more of a small ball, he is 6'11". Can't really say he's an undersized center, 243 pounds. I'm just not sure he runs the floor and defends well enough to get solid minutes in the NBA. He can shoot the three ball okay, stretch the floor, but I don't know. I think he'll get minutes just because of the state of where the Pistons are. They shipped off Blake Griffin. I'm not even sure who they have starting at the 5 right now. But like you said, not an all-star. I'm not sure how well he translates or transitions to the NBA level.
I think he's gonna be a center for the Pistons. I could see him kind of being like a poor man. Marcin Gortat was a good one, but I think more accurate would be Jonas Valanciunas. A guy that can
Hmm.
board the ball, a guy that can score. He's very versatile in the post position. I think his game's gonna translate. I really think it all depends on who his coaches are, how well or how many minutes he's gonna get, how well they train him. Because Tyler Hansbrough was great in college basketball, as you know, probably one of the greatest of all time. But when he went to the NBA, he didn't play for a team that was helping him, go forward. Pistons, obviously not the greatest team in the NBA right now. They have great bones. They have great coaches. They have great history and lineage behind them with big men. I think we could possibly see Luka Garza being one of the steals of this draft. Um, Obviously, you saw him score a lot of points last year, average a double double for Iowa, almost take them, to the promised land, even though they probably lost in the Sweet 16 or something like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, better. That's good for Iowa.
Yeah. I mean, so looking at their roster right now, the highest paid, well, I guess there's someone who's higher. Isaiah Stewart is the highest paid, center on the roster. Jaleel Okafor, uh,
He still plays.
Balsa Kapravica, not sure if I pronounced that right, and
Great
then Luka
Italian.
Garza. So he definitely has the opportunity to play some minutes. They have Kelly Olynyk there at technically a power forward who can play the five at times. The minutes are there. It's remain to be seen how well he produces, but he'll have an opportunity. Last thing that I have to say about the summer league, Tyler, it's good to see Michael Beasley out there balling again, man. The guy is a walking bucket. I was watching the summer league and I was like, wait, is that Michael Beasley? I was like, all right, yeah. I mean,
Was he
I
playing
know
for
some veteran
Toronto?
guys. The Trailblazers.
Oh, the Trailblazers. That's right.
I mean, I'm not sure if they're trying to go full veteran over there in Portland because they also had Emmanuel Mudiay sign
I mean, I saw the Nets had
playing.
Brandon Knight. I'm like, bro, that guy's a walking fucking cast.
I didn't see that. It's funny to see
Yeah.
these guys, the different routes they take to get back in the league, but I think
I'm
Beasley,
surprised we didn't see Jimmer.
we will. I think he just signed to the Nuggets summer league team, if I'm not mistaken.
Wasn't Summer League over?
Las Vegas. So they
Oh.
they have what? Las Vegas, Utah, and Orlando summer leagues, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh.
So I think we're gonna
I did not know
see.
that.
I think we're gonna see some Jimmer time for the Utah summer league, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just
I
make
mean, that
sure.
makes sense. Mormon probably going back to BYU to finish his mission. Um, I just feel like if a guy can average 50 points in any single league, Austin, they should be playing professional basketball in the NBA.
Salt Lake City summer league schedule.
Like, that is just absurd. 50, 60 points, even if it's China's basketball league, that's still a professional league. I still feel like, you could average at least 15 in the NBA.
What the hell? Nuggets summer league. No, they did play. What? I could have sworn I saw Jimmer sign to a team for the
Well, why
summer
don't you
league.
type in Jimmer for that?
I'm about to. Oh, won't play in summer league. After all,
Wow. Got my
due
hopes
to a
up.
last-minute issue, Jimmer Fredette will not be on the Nuggets summer league team. All right, I
His
know.
wife popped out another baby.
Yeah, he had something come up. All right.
Baby number
Anyways,
6.
no Jimmer time. That would have been exciting to see. Tyler, do you want to transition to our bracket?
Yes.
So I'll let the committee discuss because Tyler, this was all on him. He had the idea, he had the execution, he set it up. What are we diving into?
Um, if you could please share the screen with me.
Yep.
I had an epiphany. I said, why not me and Austin discuss, as we often do during bracket season, hashtag bracket SZN, the most dominating players in a specific year. So statistically, if a player had a great year, just nobody could guard them, nobody could touch them, nobody could come close to them in the standings, nobody could beat them one-on-one. I wanted to rank the top 16 best players in a season in a bracket. So that's exactly what I did. I crunched down the numbers. I did the research. I looked up stats. I tried to go across the board. Obviously, Austin came at me. No Olympics here. I also did no women's sports. Sorry. I found all these ones and
Don't
I thought,
cancel us.
don't cancel us. I thought these were interesting topics for me and Austin, because we can actually dive deep into these. We know these.
Yeah, so I'll say I like the list overall. I'd give it a solid 8.6. My only
That's a solid one.
Yeah, no, it was great. Like you said, I can tell you definitely put the time into it and the effort. My only beef is I would have liked to see a little bit more diversity as far as, we got Wayne Gretzky on there twice. Is that the only guy? I thought
Yes.
is there two Michael
No.
Jordans? No. All
No.
right. So Tyler just couldn't decide, and I'll hand it to you. You did put them up against each other, so there will only be one Wayne Gretzky in
Right.
the second round.
Also, I would like to say, as the committee this time around,
Mhm.
because Austin often plays role of committee, and I took great honor in this. I did it based on also sport. So as you'll see, let's just break it down. I'll break it down for you. The committee, this is how we decided. 1 versus 16, we have Will Chamberlain. This is actually an interesting one. I did 1959 to 1963. That's how much this guy dominated. Versus Michael Jordan
Well,
to
I'm playing against
86,
midgets. And
86 to 87. That was purely based on scoring. Ted Williams versus Barry Bonds, purely based on hitting. Tom Brady versus Dan Marino, purely based on passing. Russell Westbrook versus Oscar Robinson, the triple double machines going up against each other. Babe Ruth versus Shohei Ohtani, two guys that not only could hit the ball but could also pitch the ball. Roger Federer versus Tiger Woods. This was kind of my,
Mhm.
Not basketball, not baseball, not
That's a tough
football.
one for the first
Yeah.
round.
No, that's a good matchup. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of scared, for whoever loses that. And Jerry Rice versus Randy Moss, best pass catchers in NFL history statistically, and Wayne Gretzky versus Wayne Gretzky. I couldn't go once. I'll tell you exactly why when we get to it, because they're a little bit different.
Okay. Yeah, no, let's dive right into it. I mean, first up, we got Wilt the Stilt versus Michael Jordan. I mean, this is a tough one as well, Tyler. Obviously, Michael Jordan, one of the best basketball players of all time, often regarded as the best. When you
Right.
associate the best player of all time in basketball, Michael Jordan's name is always up there. Wilt Chamberlain, not as much. But I mean, like you said, Tyler, you had to put a 4-year run up there because Wilt was so dominant. The
So let me
only,
tell you the stats
yeah,
real quick
yep.
too when you're done.
I was just gonna say the only thing that I would point out is the era played, the
Right.
competition. Obviously, I'm gonna say the '90s basketball. We have '86, '87, Michael Jordan right now, but still, with the Pistons, the Bad Boys, Hakeem Olajuwon. Just the amount of all stars and Hall of Famers that they had playing at that time, I feel like it was a lot more difficult to thrive.
So statistically, Michael Jordan this season averaged 35 points, 6 assists, 5.5 rebounds, 3.2 steals, which is a lot, and 1.6 blocks. He was the MVP that year. Also won Defensive Player of the Year. Absolutely dominating season. I probably should have put 85 through 87 because he averaged 37.1 the season before. But Wilt Chamberlain in 1961 through 62 averaged 50.4 points per game and 25.7 rebounds per game, something that we will never ever see again. I can almost guarantee it. I'll
Mm.
put my life on it. Obviously, as Austin said, maybe it wasn't, the best of competition versus him. This was also the season that he scored 100 points. Another, as me and you have discussed before, records that we don't think will ever get broken. Um, I just think it's an impressive season regardless of who he was facing.
Mhm.
Nobody's ever going to average that many points. Nobody's ever going to average that many rebounds. And to do that in the same season is just impeccable. Now, prior to that, Austin, the reason why I did 59 through 63 was because the top five, if you look on Wikipedia, the top five averages in NBA history for scoring are owned by Will Chamberlain. The next one is Michael Jordan in 86 and 87.
Mm.
So the guy knew how to score, and he was one of the greatest scorers of all time. So in my aspect, I'm voting Will Chamberlain 59 through 63 to move on to the second round.
Yeah, I'm glad you went first because I was kind of on the fence. I was gonna let you sway me one way or the other with the stats.
Let's not
It's
disagree. Michael Jordan, best basketball player of all time.
right. It's
But
tough.
this is statistics.
Yeah, I guess if we're talking about, and we're looking at the title, player with most dominating year in sports, and Wilt's got 4 on there. It's tough to go against MJ, but I might have to agree with you on this one. Wilt Chamberlain, as far as dominating, I mean that was literally what he did pretty much for his whole career in the NBA. So I'll have to agree with you on this one. Wilt Chamberlain moving on. Next matchup, a tough one, Tyler. Like you said, based off hitting.
Yep. You want me to get into it? Ted
Yeah.
Williams, 1941 batting average, .406 batting average. I think that's the highest in MLB history. Honestly, I don't think that's a record that will ever be broken. Basically, shooting 40% against a pitcher to hit the ball, 37 home runs, 120 RBIs. I think that's a very solid season, regardless of batting average. Also, 37 home runs, 120 RBIs. Where on the other end of the spectrum, you have Barry Bonds, 2001, obviously breaking the record for most all-time home runs in a season, 73 home runs, 137 RBIs, only 17 more than Ted Williams, and 177 walks in the season, which I think is one of the most. Um, yeah, I think it says it is also unlikely that anybody will ever be walked 177 times over the course of a season. Obviously, the most feared hitter in that season. Everybody was scared of him. You
Hmm.
threw a fastball his way, it was going out of the park more likely than not. Did steroids have a play in this? Perhaps, maybe, yes. Um, for me, statistically, baseball, I think that the home runs will be broken, Austin, at some point, one way or another. The batting average, though, of .406 will never be broken in MLB history because the pitchers nowadays are far too good to let anybody hit that well. And Ted Williams deserves to move on to the second round, in my opinion, because of that.
Okay, I'm gonna have to disagree with you here. I was thinking about it. I was, you know, what does ruminating mean? I feel like I want to say I was ruminating. Does that mean I was thinking, or
You were thinking it's
does
like a
that mean I
fancier way
was
of
like
thinking.
I don't know if that was like getting mad or something. Anyways, I was deliberating in my head. Now I have come to a conclusion, and I want to put Barry Bonds into the next round. Like you mentioned, Tyler, could steroids have played a factor into that historic season and his overall career home run record? Potentially, most likely. But I'm gonna say I don't give a fuck if players are using steroids. I don't think steroids should be banned in any professional sports. Listen,
Really?
if you wanna if you wanna trash your body and make that risk of, shortening your lifespan or having health risks to be the best, hey, by all means. Because it's not like you or I, Tyler, could take steroids and become, the best baseball player, basketball, football player. You have to have some certain skill set. And Barry Bonds said, hey, I truly want to be the best. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to take some steroids. Just solidify my name in the history of sports. So for me, I think if you want to take steroids and potentially ruin your body, make it shrivel up and die years before it should have if you just had a natural body, go ahead. Also, Ted Williams, stats, impressive, no denying that. But I mean, this guy was hitting off pitchers that, you know, they worked 9 to 5 at a post office, and then they suited up for the game at 6 p.m. and they're out there throwing fucking 80-mile-an-hour fastballs. I just don't think the stats are as impressive, and for me, Barry Bonds should move on to the next round.
See, I would agree with you typically if baseball were a new sport at that time, but baseball had been around almost 100 years at that time, so it had already transpired and progressed so much. where there were good pitchers, in the MLB back then. There were good baseball players. I feel like discounting the 400, the 406 average, plus 37 home runs, plus 120 RBIs, I think it's a little unfair to Ted Williams just because he's going up against a player that was using performance enhancing drugs to hit baseballs out of the park.
Well, plus he played for the Red Sox. Fuck the Red Sox.
I mean, fuck the Red Sox, yes, but I'm just saying, I think personally the statistics. I think someone's gonna beat Barry Bonds' record with or without steroids.
Not
I
all
don't think.
time. I don't think all time.
I'm saying in a season,
Maybe.
73 home runs. I guarantee you someone breaks it
Maybe.
at one point or another.
I don't think the all-time home run record, which I don't even know if they strip him of that or not.
No, they didn't, and I think that's gonna be broken as well.
No shot. What is it, like 751?
I think it's 756.
Incredible. That's never going to be broken. So,
You don't think?
second matchup, we also have our first coin flip of the night. I will not be persuaded otherwise. Tyler, I'll let you call it. What do you want Ted Williams to be?
Heads.
All right, here we go. The flip, the result, and it is tails.
Motherfucker.
Mr. Barry Bonds moving on.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Hey, we left it up to fate, and the coin decided Barry Bonds.
Man, fuck that coin.
I don't think it would have mattered in the next round. But anyways, moving on. Tom Brady 07-08, Dan Marino 84-85. I'll take the lead on this one, Tyler, because I feel like I have
Okay.
enough stats upstairs to make a well-constructed opinion
If you don't
on
know
this.
Dan Marino's stats, I have them right in front of me. So
Well, as far as, again, I'm going to keep going back to the word that is in the title of this bracket, dominating. I think Dan Marino completely dominated the NFL in the 84-85 season. If he won a Super Bowl, I think that might have been the greatest player, at least NFL season ever. Tom Brady, there's no argument, right? Kind of like we're going back to the Wilt Chamberlain, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, probably the best basketball player of all time. Tom Brady, I'd say, is the best football player of all time. But going back to the main word of dominating, I would say Dan Marino completely dominated that season, even more so than Tom Brady did in 07-08.
So Dan Marino, 1984 to 1985, 5,084 yards, 48 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. Injustice. It was only his. I think the crazy thing is it was only his second year in the league, and he broke 6 passing records, including most yards and touchdowns in a season, and won his first and only MVP. I agree wholeheartedly with you on this solely because Tom Brady also had, as you can see on this list, Randy Moss as one of his wide receivers to throw to, who had, as we will talk about, an insane season for the Patriots. I'm trying to pull up Tom Brady's stats that season: 48.06 in yards, 50 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Obviously, less interceptions, more touchdowns. But when you have a guy like Randy Moss that's catching almost half of those for touchdowns, I feel like the disparity of Dan Marino passing to, someone who's not as good as Randy Moss, probably not even close to as good as Randy Moss, for, I don't know, 2 less touchdowns, I said, right? 48.
Yeah.
I mean,
9 more interceptions. So Brady's QBR was probably a little better, but
a little bit better. But I mean, Marino almost had 1,000 more yards. I'm gonna have to agree with you on this one. I'm gonna go Dan Marino going to the second round. I mean, you look at this and you'd say, oh, Tom Brady was dominating that season. His record also got broke for passing touchdowns, and that wasn't throwing to one player throughout the whole entire season. I mean, I find it, Dan Marino had nobody to throw to, and yet he still finds the touchdown or finds the end zone 48 times with some random receiver, Joe Schmo. Fucking Ace Ventura found him with
I was just going to say, he had such a good season. They put him in a fucking Ace Ventura movie. Tom Brady never had that. He's got plenty of other
Tom Brady
accolades,
had Ted.
but what? Oh, Ted, yeah. Okay, moving on. I'll let you get in the stats on this one, Tyler. Obviously, everyone knows Russell Westbrook. Um, the 20 to 21 season average a triple double. Oscar Robertson, the Big O, as they call him. I don't know the stats exactly, but definitely a dominant season. One of the greats of all time. Certified Hall of Famer. What do we have for the numbers on this one?
Yeah, so I mean, last season Russell Westbrook averaging 22.2 points, 11.5 rebounds, 11.7 assists. I was having a hard time, Austin, because I was like, is this the only season that he's done, this well in other aspects than scoring? Obviously not his best scoring output, but it was his highest rebounding season, and it was also his highest assist season,
Mm.
playing for a Washington team that, had a hard time making it into the playoffs. I think they were like the 9 seed or something like that. Um, Obviously a dominating season for Russell Westbrook. I felt like every time I watched SportsCenter, he had another triple double. But you on the other end of the spectrum, 61 to 62, you had Oscar Robinson, 30.8 points per game, 12.5 rebounds, 11.4 assists per game. And I'm pretty sure they also, won the championship that year. I could be wrong, but obviously scored better, rebounded better, assisted better than Russell Westbrook. Um, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't say any MVP, but I would say for me, Oscar Robinson takes the cake just purely
Mm.
based on stats. But I won't say that Russell Westbrook is a better. I'm going to say Russell Westbrook is a better triple double machine than Oscar Robinson, obviously, because he owns the record for most triple doubles. The guy's a walking triple double machine. I'm excited to see what he does for the Lakers, but
Mm-hmm.
per season, Oscar Robinson takes this for me.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you again, so I guess we're going back to the coin flip, Tyler. I,
God damn it.
I mean Russell Westbrook again, the competition, the era, to average a triple double throughout a season. That was the only time it's ever happened, right? Correct?
Oscar Robinson did it.
Okay. So Russell
And he did it
Westbrook.
with and he
Then
did it with
the
8 more
tiebreaker,
points,
the
1 more
tiebreaker.
rebound.
Who has the all-time triple double? Russell Westbrook, who at least has what 5 more seasons, who could completely put this record unreachable for anyone in the future. Now he's playing
Right.
on a
But
Los
Austin,
Angeles Lakers team where
what's the
he could
title? What's the title of the bracket?
dominating.
In dominating year in sports. I'm not saying all time. I'm saying that year, who dominated more?
Russell Westbrook.
You're saying that Russell Westbrook's 22.2 was more dominating than Oscar Robinson's 30.8?
Yeah, maybe not, because I just talked myself out of it because I feel like the NBA is a lot more high scoring now. So it's probably
Right.
a little bit more impressive to average a triple double back in the 60s with no three pointers and stuff like that, pace of play.
Right. And he's also a handful of players have only averaged 30 points in the
Okay, you
NBA
you
season.
you swayed me. I switched my decision. Hey, at least I'm being like, open
I'm
to
glad. Hey,
changing my mind and
if only
accepting.
everybody were like that, Austin, the world would be a much easier place.
Hey, I'm telling you. All right, so Tyler he changed my decision. I voted Oscar Robinson. The next matchup, definitely a tough one, Tyler. I mean, I feel like probably the most fitting matchup because not only was it in the 21st year of each century, right? But
That
Shohei,
it's kind of a century apart. That's crazy.
yeah,
When I saw that when I was typing it, I was like, "Whoa, this is weird."
Shohei Ohtani. I mean, this man may be the best baseball player ever. I'm not a huge baseball guy. Tyler is neither. My roommate not only is a big baseball fan, but he is a big Angels fan. He's got the games on a lot, so I've seen a lot more baseball and more specifically a lot more Shohei Ohtani. I mean, this guy is just doing things that are unspeakable. Obviously, every comparison they have to him is for Babe Ruth. I'm going to go back, Tyler, and saying just the era of play. And not only that, I'm not going to sit here and say Babe Ruth, he's playing against shoemakers that, got off a 10-hour shift and now they're pitching him meatballs because I think what he did, and especially what he did for the sport, very impressive. But Shohei Ohtani this season. He just broke the record for fastest to 40 home runs in Angels history. Tyler, he's a pitcher. Obviously, he plays a lot of DH. He gets a lot more opportunities, but I have never seen a pitcher and probably more importantly a baseball player have such a smooth swing, effortless. Obviously, we're not going to count the home run derby because that was a terrible performance on his part. But as far as a dominating season, I'm going to go and say Shohei Ohtani. Tyler, I don't know if we've ever had a season where more pitchers have had no hitters or better stats, ERA. I feel like every other night we're getting a no hitter from a guy that we don't even never heard from before. And Shohei Ohtani is not only in that conversation of being one of the best pitchers at a time like this, but he's also one of the best home run hitters. And to me, that is an incredible feat, and I would have to give him the edge in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna agree 100%. Babe Ruth stats that season: 378 batting average, 846 slugging percentage. That was beaten by Barry Bonds in '01. 59 home runs, 171 RBIs. I think the biggest factor that puts Ohtani for me over the top over Ruth is just the fact of he's almost, like you said, performing complete games. He's almost performing no hitters. I mean, this guy is an elite pitcher. Where if he focused on just pitching, I could only imagine, Cy Young award, most strikeouts in a season. But the guy is so versatile. He's gonna go down, Austin. Mark my words, as the greatest baseball player to ever live. If he continues on this, he's on pace for 50 home runs this season. He's probably on pace for maybe 6 to 7 wins on the season. Pitching wise, I mean, that's incredible. You got guys that are playing DH that are hitting 40 home runs, but they're not putting out fucking pitching wins.
Right.
It's just incredible what he's doing. Everybody always says how incredible this is. So for me, it's an easy one.
Yeah, no, just the stuff that he's doing, it shouldn't be done by a single human being. It's incredible to watch. Luckily we get to witness this in our lifetime. Next matchup, Tyler, another solid one. I mean, two completely different sports, yet two, I feel like, vaguely similar athletes. Roger Federer, '06 versus Tiger Woods, 2000. I think I want to hear the stats because I'm gonna need to have a little bit of an idea because I feel like I have a decision, but it's going to be so close that I just need to hear the stats.
All right. Roger Federer's 2006 season was dominant, finishing the year with a 92-5 record. The world number one maintained his ranking for the full calendar year and reached all 4 Grand Slam finals in 2006, winning 3 of them. All right. That was Rogers. Tiger Woods, 2000, 9 wins in 20 events, including the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach by 15 strokes. The Open at St. Andrews, the last 3 major championships. And as they say, comic book stuff by CBS Golf. I mean, I don't think anybody's ever done that. I don't think anybody else will for either of these sports. It's kind of unfair that these guys are going against each other. I think, though, personally, I think golf is a much harder game than tennis, in my opinion. And almost batting 50% from the field in terms of winning in major championships when it could be any guy's day, especially when there's so many guys out there. I think Tiger Woods takes the cake on this one for me.
Yeah, I think I'm
And
leaning
I
in
hate to
that
say that
direction.
92-5, man, is incredible.
Yeah, I
I
feel
mean,
like you said, golf is a little bit harder to succeed at. A Grand Slam tournament. What is it? What do they field, like 20
I think
something people?
16.
16. Whereas
Yeah.
golf is like what, 70 to 80 players.
Yeah.
If Tiger Woods had won 2 majors that year, I'd say he'd walk away with it. But I think I'm still gonna lean in favor of just golf being a much harder sport. And would you say 9 wins out of 20 starts?
9 out of 20 events, yes.
20 events. Yeah, I mean, that's completely dominant. Obviously, any given Sunday, if you will, for golf, some guys can get the hot hand. Whereas tennis, if you're like that guy, like Roger Federer was that guy, and I'm kind of talking myself out of my decision again, but he really was dominant. Maybe the competition wasn't there as much. I think I would just not be happy with myself if I went against Tiger Woods, one of the greatest golfers of all time, probably number 2 right now, arguably number 1. Depends on how many majors he ends up winning in his career. But I'll agree with you, Tyler. I'm going to say Tiger Woods.
I almost went, by the way, on this one, now that I remember, I almost went Tiger Woods 06 versus Federer 06. Because Tiger Woods in 06 had the greatest strokes gained season in recorded history, where he beat the field on average by 3.3 strokes that year. He had 8 wins, and he also won his last 6 events and shot only 3 of those 24 rounds in the 70s. I mean, that was an incredible season, but 2000, obviously, that was his breakout season, I think, showing that he is the perennial number 1 golfer in the world.
Yeah. No, I mean, golf, Tyler and I, we're big fans.
Big advocates.
It might have been a little biased opinion, but anyways, moving on. We got the wide receiver matchup. Jerry Rice, 95-96 versus Randy Moss, 07-08. Tyler, hit me with the stats.
Jerry Rice, 95-96, 122 receptions, 1848 yards, and 15 touchdowns. Arguably one of the best seasons. And then here comes along Randy Moss, 07-08, newly signed after playing with the Raiders to the Patriots. 98 receptions, 1,493 yards, and 23 touchdowns. If that's not the biggest Randy Moss stat I've ever seen, this is it. I mean, the guy doesn't catch the ball, he scores touchdowns. That's what he does. That ultimate stat that you saw, I think it was like one of Thanksgiving game or something like that, Austin. Vikings, when he was playing for the Vikings back in, I think, 98, 3 receptions, 3 touchdowns, 198 yards or some shit like that. That's Randy Moss.
What's he say? He says 84 doesn't stretch on game day. He comes ready to play.
Exactly. For me, this is an easy one because I don't think this record's ever going to get broken, is Randy Moss. 23 touchdowns. I don't think any wide receiver will ever score that many touchdowns in a season, where I mean, 122 receptions gets broken all the time. 1,848 yards. That's a kind of stretch. It has been broken. That's a tough one to beat, but 15 touchdowns, that's almost the average for top 3 wide receivers in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty indifferent on this one. Both definitely statistically dominating seasons. Both, at the hand of Hall of Fame quarterbacks. So I guess I'll agree with you, Tyler, for the purpose of that stat. Like you mentioned, 23 reception touchdowns in a season, going to be tough to be broken. Maybe by Devontae Adams this year? I don't know, but I'm going to lean with you on this one, say Randy Moss. So
next one was tough, I must say.
I mean, I'm going to need the stats 100p no C because, obviously we all know the legend of Wayne Gretzky, but I just can't for the life of me remember the seasons.
I almost put Mario Lemieux up against him, 88, 89 Mario Lemieux, but they just didn't even add up to the second best for Wayne Gretzky. 81-82, 92 goals, 120 assists, 212 points. All right, remember that. 92 goals, 120 assists. Reverse that, 52 goals, 163 assists, 215 points. So, Austin, I guess it comes to you. Would you rather have a guy that gets your team fully involved with assists, has more points, or would you have a guy that is going to score the puck with 92 goals and 120 assists?
What are the points? You said 215 and what?
85-86 was 215, and 81-82 was 212. So a difference of 3 points, but a difference of 40 goals versus
Yeah.
43 assists.
No, I mean, with that small of a margin between overall points, I'd probably lean towards the higher goals. Definitely harder to be dominant in points primarily off of goals, which is pretty much what Gretzky did that season. It wasn't like he didn't have any assists. Obviously, you get the hockey assist in there, pass to someone who passes to someone who scores. But that's neither here nor there. Wayne Gretzky, easily the best hockey player of all time. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and I'd be remiss if I don't pick the season where he scored 90 plus goals.
I mean, this is a tough one for me because I don't think the goals will ever be touched. Um, but I also don't think that the assists or the points will ever be touched in 85-86. Um, I, I mean, I'm gonna go most goals. So I'm gonna pull the upset here, 15-2. Which hindsight looking at this, I kind of went with the list that I saw. So I mean, I think scoring 92 goals in a season is absolutely insane. It's preposterous. It's incredible. I just couldn't imagine anybody doing that. Like if someone did that now in this day and age with social media, with the media in general, I think it would be a much bigger deal where you would hear this for 50 years on end, but because this happened back in the 80s, you didn't hear about it at all.
Right. Plus, hockey has never been the sport that has been completely in the limelight, but nonetheless, super impressive. So we are 4 minutes past the top of the hour. Tyler, luckily, the guy who's on after this is also on this show, so
Oh
we don't
my
have to worry
god.
about it too much.
So cool.
But maybe we could do a little bit
We already
speedier,
went in depth. We
expedited. Yeah,
already
we,
went in
we
depth.
did
We
all the
know all the
stats.
stats.
So this
Jinx,
matchup,
knock on wood.
um, yeah, as far as dominant, and both dominant, so I'm gonna give the leg up to the greatest player in the respective sport of all time. I'm gonna say Wayne Gretzky.
I'm going to have to agree with you on this one. I mean, the 92 goals over the 23 touchdowns, like I said previously, I think that 23 touchdowns will be beat someday.
Hmm. Interesting matchup, Tyler. Again, you and I not huge
Didn't see this
baseball
one through.
fans, but I mean it's tough to argue with potentially the best baseball player of all time and what he's doing this season.
Yeah, but in regards, I don't think anybody's ever going to be dominant like Tiger Woods was in 2000.
Well, Jack Nicklaus. I mean, I don't know how you didn't look up his stats.
I mean, what did he do?
I mean, I don't know if he won them all, but he won at least two or three majors in one season. He holds the record for most major wins all time.
I mean, are we listening to the same guy that said, "Oh, but the competition back then wasn't that great"?
I'd say the competition for golf was almost harder back in the day. They're hitting with fucking clubs that were made off of trees they grew in their backyard. And that's all they did back in the day is play golf.
I'm going to put the leg up to, and I don't want to do this, but I'm going to put the leg up to Otani only because I don't want to argue with you. And secondly, I think it's impressive what he's doing statistically on both sides of the ball. 40 home runs, on pace for 50. He's going to probably have 5 or 6 pitching wins. I think that's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, it may never be seen again. Tiger Woods, like you said, you almost didn't even choose this season. He's had a couple of them. So, we'll see if someone else can duplicate that. Dan Marino versus Oscar Robinson. I'm going to have to say Dan Marino solely off the fact that, I mean, like you said, he was throwing to a bunch of nobodies. Oscar Robinson, it's a little easier to be solely independently dominant in basketball, I feel. Whereas football, there's a lot of different aspects. The quarterback isn't even on the field at all times. So I'm gonna have to lean towards Marino.
I'll agree with you. If Oscar Robinson won the championship that year or an MVP, I would have said him. But the fact that Marino won that MVP in his second year in the NFL, something like that will never be duplicated.
Yeah.
5,000 yards? I mean, shit. It's a lot of fucking yards. You'd think Drew Brees throws a lot.
Yeah. I mean, to do it back then too, when it was such a run-heavy, game plan in the NFL. So we have the number 1 seed. Not sure if that was on purpose versus Barry Bonds. The 8 seed. Tyler, I'll let you kick this one off. I feel like I've been starting them all.
Um, for me, I think this is an easy one. I think Will Chamberlain deserves to move on. I know you might disagree with this, but let me explain. We're also talking about the same guy. If we're talking about 62, 63, that had 100 points in a season, a record that may never be broken. Where I think the 73 home runs may be broken someday. You don't think so. Same with the all-time home runs. That's neither here nor there. I think for a dominating season, someone to average 50 home runs, that would be the equivalent of someone in baseball averaging 3 home runs, So
Mm-hmm.
I think Will Chamberlain, most dominating player, 25 rebounds too. I mean, Jesus Christ, nobody's ever done that.
No, I'm gonna agree with you on this one. Wilt Chamberlain, on and off the court, completely dominant. The same guy that said he's
Fuck.
had sex with 10,000 plus women. That's probably another record that will never be broken.
I mean, that guy, you hate to see people living out your dream, but fuck.
Was there like a J. Cole line? He was like, "Wilt is still, I'm fucking them all,"
Well, yeah, I think it was, but
which I think
also,
in turn led to health complications and eventually his early death. But anyway, yeah.
right. Here's the most impressive stat of Will Chamberlain, Austin. Will Chamberlain averaged all those points, all those rebounds, averaged 0 fucking kids. How the hell did he do that?
Right. At a time where I feel like birth control science was definitely not as advanced as it is today. I mean, scoring game strong, rebound game strong, pull out game
Pull out game
strong.
stronger.
Wilt Chamberlain, I mean, undisputed. And I'm gonna double down. I'm gonna say Wilt over Marino in this matchup as well.
I'm gonna have to agree. Although Dan Marino was no slouch, I mean, Will Chamberlain, 25 rebounds. Like, what?
Yeah. I mean, incredible. Obviously, the guy had probably a good foot over everyone else in the game, but stats are stats. Men lie, women lie, number don't lie. Tyler, I'm gonna start this one off, and then I'll let you start off the championship game. We mentioned Shohei Ohtani, potentially the best baseball player of all time, having an incredible historic season, but I honestly just have a hard time going against the greatest player in his respective sport, Wayne Gretzky, another record that will most likely never be broken with, would you say, 92 goals in a season?
92 goals, yep.
Absolutely insane at a time where hockey, at its peak, I don't know if hockey's ever had a peak. I feel like it's pretty much plateaued. The athletes, the scoring, the gameplay has always been super consistent. So I'm gonna say Wayne Gretzky is my choice in this matchup.
I agree. I mean, I think it's as possible for someone to be a pitcher slash hitter versus someone to be as dominating as Wayne Gretzky was. Maybe not as good as Shohei Ohtani, but Wayne Gretzky, the 212 points, obviously his second best compared to the first season, but almost 100 goals. I feel like teams don't even score that much.
Yeah, I mean, not. There's definitely been seasons where teams haven't scored that many goals in a season,
Right.
which to put that in perspective is completely insane. So we've landed on our final matchup: Wilt Chamberlain 59-63 versus Wayne Gretzky 81-82. Tyler, what are you thinking?
Well, obviously, the 50 points, 25 rebounds, incredible by Will Chamberlain. I just don't think that there's ever a player that is as dominating as Wayne Gretzky, and let me tell you why. You know it's bad when the day that you get traded from one city to another, they deem it as the saddest day in your city's history.
Mm.
The day that Wayne Gretzky got traded. Um, I just don't think anybody's ever gonna get on ice and do what Wayne Gretzky did, be as polarizing as he is, be as efficient, as dominating as he is. Obviously, same respect to Will Chamberlain, but I feel like the output of the league was a lot better for hockey then. As you say, the NBA wasn't back then. I don't even think it was the NBA at that time. I mean, it could have been. It could have also been the ABA. I mean, they weren't even a full league at that time. Um, I just have to lean towards Wayne Gretzky. 92 goals. That's like averaging 50 points for me, but I just think
Mm-hmm.
the competition was harder. The game was a lot rougher. There were fewer rules. There were fewer, you know, equipment that you could wear. I assume it wasn't as, advanced. So I just gotta give the leg up to the great one.
Yeah, let me just start this take off by saying I would not be upset with either of these being our champion, but I'm going to surprisingly agree with Tyler. We're talking about Wilt Chamberlain. He's not really even in the discussion of greatest basketball players of all time. When you ask someone, Tyler, you and I, we're not super big hockey fans, right? If you ask someone who has vaguely, barely watched hockey, who's the best hockey player of all time? They're going to say Wayne Gretzky. It's unanimous. This is the best hockey player in the history of the sport. He had the best season in the history of the sport, hands down. A record that will most likely never be broken. I feel like, especially now with the style of play in the NHL, with all the shift changes and just time on the ice that players have, it's going to be tough for someone to do that. Especially, we've seen Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby, probably, two top 10 players, and they came nowhere close to breaking any of Gretzky's records. Mark Messier, Mario Lemieux, Gordie Howe. No one did it. Wayne Gretzky, I'm going to agree with you, Tyler. I think he had the most dominating year in sports history.
Also, if anybody decides to say that, Wayne Gretzky had two people out there, all I have to say in the wise words of ACWeezy is not only get your stats up, but get your muscle up.
Ahaha. And that's how we conclude. Luckily, Tyler, this one ended in a unanimous decision. We did not have to go to the coin flip to decide a champion, which I don't know how many times it's happened, but I know it has happened before, and it just leaves a bad taste. I feel like in my mouth. I'm not sure if I can speak for you, but I
I
much
know you're still
agree.
mad about the pizza one.
Yeah, well, that one still just makes me lose sleep at night. But
you,
regardless,
you wake up, you're like this, white pizza.
it should have been buffalo chicken. God damn it! No, good job again. Hats off to the committee, Tyler. You did a great job. Obviously, have the stats prepared. I mean, you helped me out a lot in my decision making, and I think overall we came to the right conclusion.
The great one, the phenom,
The
Wayne
great one.
Gretzky.
Hey, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and you're also gonna miss Thirsty Thursday if you don't stay tuned. Tyler, we had an extra long episode here on the No Look podcast, which supposedly was an episode about nothing. Somehow it turned into an hour plus, but I think we had a good debate. We came up to a great conclusion, and now we're going to have a great stream on Thirsty Thursday, so stay tuned. I'm going to end this stream, pop Thirsty Thursday back up. Tyler, I'm assuming you're going to hang out with me, unless you got some.
I I would love to. I just gotta be up at like 3 a.m. tomorrow.
Oh, he's got some bad news. All right, your boy Yo Soy's rolling solo then, but that's never been an issue before. We're gonna do it again. We're gonna produce. We're gonna have good times, good vibes only. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll be right back.
Go Nets.